Mark misses the call on Petey's phone and stashes it, noticing several missed calls from the same blocked number. The next day, Irving visits Optics and Design, where he grows closer to Bert and discovers Rickon's book left behind by Milchick during Helly's attempted escape. Mark decides to keep the book despite promising to give it to management. Helly returns from the break room after being forced to read her apology over 1,000 times. She finds a paper cutter and threatens Coble with self-mutilation unless she is granted a recorded resignation request. However, her outie sends back a recording firmly denying the request. Later that night, Mark receives a news notification reporting that Petey died from an unknown ailment. Petey's phone rings shortly after. Coble attends the funeral as Mrs. Selvig and extracts Petey's severance chip prior to his cremation. She then has Ms. Casey perform a special wellness check on Mark, which she watches remotely. Casey has Mark sculpt his emotional state out of clay. Mark sculpts a tree, which his outie visited in remembrance of his late wife Gemma after the funeral. Irving discovers that O&D actually has at least 7 employees, working in a massive unlabeled backroom. Dylan finds Rickon's book hidden in Mark's files. Helly smuggles out an extension cord and hangs herself in an elevator shaft. Helly is injured by her suicide attempt, but ultimately survives. She returns to work 3 days later. Mark continues to read Rickon's book, which carries strong anti-establishment sentiments. Outside work, Devon gives birth. When Helly returns, Coble orders Ms. Casey to watch her closely, but Mark sneaks Helly out of NDR and reveals he has been recreating Petey's map. Helly agrees to help Mark with recreating the map after they discover a previously unknown department in which a single employee feeds baby goats. Bert admits to Irving and Dylan that he lied about the size of O&D due to NDR being seen as untrustworthy. They realize Lumon is pitting the departments against one another. Bert takes the two to O&D's backroom and introduces them to his employees. Lumon Security Chief Doug Grainer calls Coble to inform her he has identified ex-employee Rigabi as the one responsible for Petey's reintegration. Irving and Bert admit their feelings to one another, but the former admits he is not ready to commit to a relationship. After learning Ms. Casey was sent to the break room for failing to watch him and Helly, Mark has Irving introduce MDR to O&D, where he calls for the departments to work together to uncover Lumon's secrets. However, Milchick finds them and sends Mark to the break room. Milchick later briefly awakens Dylan Zinni inside his outie's home to locate a card Dylan stole from O&D, leading Dylan Zinni to discover he has a son. Devon meets Gabby, a woman she met at the birthing lodge, but Gabby does not recognize her. Devon later learns Gabby's husband Angelo Arteta is a Lumon-backed state senator who supports legalizing severance. Coble, as Mrs. Selvig, gets close to Devon and Rickon by acting as their lactation consultant. Mark goes on a date with Alexa, Devon's midwife, to a concert by Petey's daughter's punk rock band, and sings along to an anti-Lumon protest song. Later, Mark finally answers Petey's phone and is contacted by Rigabi to meet in person at a nearby university. Coble orders a keycard locked door to be installed at the entrance to MDR.